장바디야. 마무리 Hello. Some problem. Good morning. Please, sit down. Elder brothers and sisters and younger brothers, sisters. I always use the word brothers and sisters. Actually, we are same human being. And actually brothers, sisters. I feel it is very important to emphasize we are same human being and human brothers, sisters. Otherwise, this is same human being over 1,000 years killing each other. I believe the very concept of war is very much related with feudal system. One leader, kings, queens, and sometimes, unfortunately, religious leaders, they give order, or you should fight that side. So, each individual, those soldiers, nobody wants to die. Loves their own life. So if today they organize army, if you ask individual army, do you really determined to sacrifice your own life? I don't think. But you see, in military rule, order, so that I feel some sort of old concept of feudal system, I feel. Now today's world, I always emphasize, world belongs to 7 billion human beings, not kings or queens or these things. So each country belongs to the people, not few leaders. So people's level, you see, just human being, and then basic human nature, as now some scientists also used to say, basic human nature is more compassionate because we are a social animal. Any social animal has a certain sort of sense of community. Even other animals also, those social animals. So it is true, as soon as we are born from our mother, you see, we survived with mother's affection, mother's care. And next, I think 3-4 years, without a mother's care, we die. And then the rest of our life, you see, no matter one individual, very able person, just one single person cannot survive. Very basis of our survival is the community. So now today's world, entire 7 billion human beings, one community. Because of technology and also population. Now entire around 7 billion human beings are one human community. So under that was the reality. It is very important, you see, have the sense of oneness of 7 billion human beings. Very important. With too much emphasis, nationality, different faith is source of a problem. So therefore, all major religious tradition, you see, those theistic religion believe God as our Father. So all children of that God, that Father. So actually we are, according to theistic religion, we are brothers, sisters. And then non-theistic religion, so each individual, also they respect each individual, but we are social animal, and more as a warm feeling here. Your physical also more healthier. Constant anger, constant fear, anxiety, actually eating our immune system, according to some scientists, they say. So these days, I telling people, I express my feeling, from kindergarten level, beside hygiene of physical, we should include hygiene of emotion from kindergarten level. The emotion, the children, the mother's kindness, every child, you see, receive that, and that's really most precious thing. And then children, they don't care what nationality, what religious faith. So long, face, smile, and play together. Very happy. One time in Switzerland, Pestalozzi, a village, I visited there one time. So they one home, Jewish community, Jewish sort of children. Next, one home, Palestine. They play together. It's no problem. They gradually, through education, with much emphasis, different nationality, different faith. That's a source of problem. So now, our time come, we must emphasize sense of oneness of 7 billion human beings. And then religion, all major religions, you see, carry the same message of love. With that, forgiveness, tolerance, self-discipline, all the different philosophy, inspired different philosophy, all carry the same message. And then, out of 7 billion, I think over 1 billion human being, non-believer. These also human brothers, sisters, we must respect them. So here, the way to promote basic human values such as compassion, forgiveness, these things, not related with religion, but as an academic subject for our good health and a happy life. So India's tradition, secular, very good. Although these subjects very much sort of involved in religious sort of tradition, but we should consider these academic subject in order to build healthy individual and a healthy family, healthy humanity. India, over 3,000 years, the concept of ahimsa developed here. And in order to carry ahimsa, non-violence, so you must respect other. So therefore, you restrain, harming them. So that's non-violence. So teaching of non-violence and karuna, compassion, always go together. And also now, in this country, over 3,000 years already developed the way to train our mind, shamatha, vipassana. Shamatha, single-pointed meditation. And then main thing is analytical meditation. So everything analyzed. So this country, over 3,000 years, is already developed some kind of method to tackle our mind, our emotion. I think the rest of the world, over 3,000 years, I think not knowing about the field of our emotion and then method to tackle this emotion. And later, now about 2,000 years, and the Christianity, Judaism, and Muslim, all this faith, God. Not much sort of explanation, tackle our emotion. So in this country, something very special. So now, I always was telling mainly Indian friend. Now, modern India, a little bit neglect about this knowledge. So you too much excited modern education which introduced by Britisher. So now modern education very much oriented about material value. That also is quite, quite logical sort of the realistic approach. In West Europe, mainly Europe, previously, I think everywhere, the knowledge mainly kept on this monastery or nunnery. So this monastery, nunnery is the learning center. Eventually, industrialization start. So then it is something necessary about mathematics and some other subject. So then separate education institution develop. So at that time, okay, about inner value is concerned, monasteries, nunneries, they carry. Then newly developed education institution, then mainly concentrate about material thing. Now gradually, the religious sort of faith, little bit sort of reduce. I notice in Europe, in France, and also some different country, Catholic country, Christian country, now huge monastery, now almost empty. So public level, the religious faith reduce. So now, education, materialistic education, the religious influence reduce. As a result, now more violence. Religion, inspired in different philosophy, all carry message how to keep peace of mind. So therefore, now today's world, I think a lot of emotional problem and killing. I think, look, the previous century, 20th century, First World War, Second World War. According to some historian, over 200 millions human beings killed. Then I think science is really wonderful, but science used for the development of a weapon, including nuclear bomb. So now, hopeful sign is later part of 20th century. People begin to feel now using weapon and develop like nuclear weapon. These are now not good. So, kasa, some sort of also the desire to reduce nuclear weapon. And people, I always was mentioning the spirit of European Union. First World War, Second World War, French, Germany, the arch enemy. But after Second World War, eventually, the people realize now war is mutual destruction. So better work together. And under the leadership of French de Gaulle and German Adenauer, they developed European Union. So, at least last few decades, among the member states of European Union, no longer killing. If European Union not developed, I think last few decades, I think there must be some killing. So I very much sort of also admire the spirit of European Union. So I often used to express now Latin America should create some kind of union of Latin America. And then Africa, too big, whole Africa Union, difficult for the time being. So Northern Africa, East Africa, West Africa, some kind of union should develop. So human being, through immense suffering, now we human being seems become more mature. So we are thinking more wider interest, not just my nation, no, thinking wider way. So that's hopeful sign. And then also, I think humanity on this planet, you see, the Paris Accord somewhere about environment. Now, beside human-created problem, the nature sort of problem, global warming, also become more serious. Here, Dharamsala also, we experienced 1960, I came here. Indian government organized, you see, this place, more or less permanent, sort of my place. So 60, I come. 1959, we become refugee. 1 year I spent at Mussoorie. Then 60, I came here. So that winter, a lot of snow. We also play with snowball. Then each year, snow less. Now these days, snow remain in mountain. From there, they say, hello, like that. So we actually experienced last almost now 60 years. And then, now many scientists, now they express a serious concern about the environment. And that Swedish girl, wonderful. Now younger people, are they really thinking the global issue more? Wonderful. So now, the other day, I think 2-3 months ago, you see, we have some meeting with environmentalists. You see, one, what scientist. One, the scholar. You see, he mentioned, now we are beginning of 21st century. Now, after 70, 80 years, the global warming become so serious that there is real danger world become more desert. In any way, see now, global warming is the reality. So we have to think more seriously. So now time come, we must think about entire humanity. That's important. And when we talk about 7 billion human beings, and then there are non-believer, over 1 billion non-believer. So secular concept is very important. And then, frankly speaking, among the believer also, a lot of troublemakers. And the worst thing, really unthinkable, use religious faith and then fighting each other. Unthinkable. All religion, you see, carry a message of love, forgiveness. Then how use the name of religion and killing each other, like Sunni, Shia, and our neighbor, Afghanistan, and then Middle East, and the problem between Christian, Muslim, and in Burma, Muslim, Buddhist. Very sad. All religion teach us also the compassion, forgiveness, but then the religion itself used for fighting. Very sad. So secular, without touching religion, telling peace of mind, happiness, joyfulness is our very purpose of our life. For that, peace of mind, very essential. Whether believer or non-believer, you see, should know there's some destructive emotion, such as anger. And then in order to reduce that, not through prayer, but through understanding. Anger is very harmful for our health. So some scientists, you see, say constant anger, constant hatred feeling is actually eating our immune system. So we can sort of educate people. This destructive emotion is very bad, not only destroy peace of mind, but eventually our health also, you see, related with this destructive emotion. Here, I think I want to share with you the quantum physics. It makes distinction, appearances and reality. So most destructive emotion based on appearances. So once, for example, when we develop anger, oh, that person, that nation, very angry. And then, where is that person? Where is the nation? We not remain on appearances, but go deeper level, then we cannot find any substance, reality. So that concept, very useful. So, and also I think that concept, I think, give us real, because of the belief, we can reduce destructive emotion, because destructive emotion very much based on appearances. Then constructive emotions such as compassion, these things are related with deeper level. All these destructive emotion, you see, based on ignorance, because based on appearances. There is big differences, appearances and reality. So that's Nalendra psychology also is mentioned that all destructive emotions such as anger, jealousy, fear, these are very much based on appearances. Then compassion, forgiveness, these based on reason. So if we pay more attention and then analyze these things, then the positive emotion very much based on truth, reason. So naturally, more possibility to increase. The destructive emotion just based on appearances, very much related with ignorance. Therefore, no proper sound basis. Okay, like that. So that much. Then I want to share. I have 4 commitments. Number 1 commitment is I am a human being. I am one of the 7 billion human beings. I'm trying to share my brothers, sisters. Since basic human nature is more compassionate, so it is in education field we should include the teaching about how to bring peace of mind, not as a sort of teaching of religion, no, secular way. This is my number 1 commitment. And number 2 commitment is I am Buddhist monk. In this country, all major worldly traditions live together. So religious harmony here over 1,000 years. So this indigenous tradition, religious harmony, now should be more active and show rest of the world. Religion, inspired in different philosophy, we can live together. That's my second commitment. The third commitment, I am Tibetan. So Tibetan people trust me. So regarding Tibet, the political matter, since 2001, I retired completely. So my commitment regarding Tibet is preservation of ancient Tibetan knowledge, which come from India. The 8th century Tibetan king invited one top master of Nalendra. His name, Shantarakshita. Shantarakshita introduced Buddhism according to Nalendra tradition. The Nalendra or Sanskrit tradition very much sort of emphasis reasoning. Why? That's so very useful. So that way of approach is very sort of close with scientific research. Why? Not belief, not faith. Even Buddha. Buddha himself telling us, oh my follower, monks, scholars should not accept my teaching out of faith, but rather thorough investigation and experiment. So you see, we can, as a sort of student of these traditions, I can easily discuss with scientists. So we can learn, mutual learning. Very good. Like that. So India's religious harmony, my number 2 commitment. And then, third, about Tibet. You see, these knowledge I really feel very useful according to secular way, not showing Buddhism, but secular way. I feel the Buddhist psychology and logical approach is, I think, very useful for humanity. This, my main the concern regarding Tibet. And then, including Tibetan language. Tibetan language, before Buddhism reached Tibet, Tibetan language is very, very native.
Rudimentary.
Oh. So, once translation started, then Tibetan, new word created. So as a result, now today, Tibetan language is the most closest language with Sanskrit. Like that. So, regarding Tibet, my main commitment is preservation of ancient Tibetan knowledge, which come from India. I found very useful. Then, Tibetan environment. As I mentioned earlier, even here, we notice some changing, global warming. In Tibet also, now big lakes now reduce. And these big river which come from Tibet also, you see now, decade by decade reduce. So we have to take serious care about environment, Tibet. So then my 4th commitment is, because of my experience, now ancient Indian knowledge is something very useful to the world. Therefore, firstly, these ancient Indian knowledge, not through prayer, but through education, we must revive in this country. And then India can, and India, only India have the ability to combine modern education and ancient Indian knowledge about how to tackle our emotion. Modern education very much oriented about material value. So ancient Indian knowledge, how to tackle our destructive emotion. This not through prayer, not through the rituals, but through education, secular way. I think ancient Indian knowledge, I think very useful to the world in order to create a peaceful world, happy world. So these are my commitment. Now some questions.
Actually, I just want to thank you for the service to humankind, and I just wanted to make a comment that I've read the book, and it's a great way that you have introduced compassion and mindfulness and all the elements to live in a very materialistic society. It has shown us the roadmap. So thank you for that, your service. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sabine Otto. I'm very thankful that...
Louder.
Louder, okay. My name is Sabine Otto. I would like to thankful to be here. It was a wonderful situation that I met a wonderful couple who invited me suddenly to take care and to let me take part. And my boyfriend, he sent me to say his warmest regards. His name is Vikram Oberoi, and his mama, Gudi, was a friend of you, Gudi Oberoi. And I should tell you that she passed away 2 years ago, and he sent his warmest regards. He told me that I should say this.
Your Holiness, I have a question. In your book, you mentioned that we should maintain an attitude of compassion to people who do us harm. What is the appropriate emotional response to ideologies which are harmful, such as Stalinism, Maoism, ISIS, etc.? What is the appropriate response?
According to our practice, the enemy is best teacher. So through enemy, you see, you learn how to practice patience and forgiveness. So Shantideva, one Indian master, stated, enemy is your best teacher. The patience, practice of patience and tolerance. So like that. And then you see the practice of altruism, entire sentient beings, you see, should consider your best friend. And then, no question, 7 billion human beings are your best friend. So therefore, you see, enemy who criticize Tibetan culture. Now, for example, some narrow-minded Chinese communists, you see, they actually try to destroy Tibetan knowledge. We feel more sense of pity, not anger. So for example, and 그들의 표현한 장례제티, 기주, 가, 2008, was some suppression in Tibet. So at that time, I actually used to visualize some of these Chinese authority and then practice of give and take. Give means my compassion, my sense of compassion, forgiveness, these things, through visualization, give them. And take their fear, their anger. So such practice, actually, you see, not much, because of the no help, the actual problem. But that kind of practice really immense help to keep peace of mind. So through that way, you see compassion towards your enemy. It's very, very useful. Okay.
Hello. Sorry. Yeah. Can I ask my question? Okay. So in your book, as well as in your talk today, you talked about how in India different religions have worked together and there is religious harmony and things like that. The question I have is that India, the major religion, Hinduism, is a polytheistic religion. Now, if you happen to be subscribing to a faith or a religious faith that is monotheistic, now for a normal person belonging to that religion, when they come across another religion which is also monotheistic, but it's a different God, now if you want to look at the situation from their point of view, you must necessarily accept the existence of another God. And for a normal person, it might be that it questions the most fundamental of your core beliefs. In the Hindu religion, once you accept multiple gods, if someone else brings a new one, it is very easy to accept that. So my question finally is that what would your advice be for people who are, subscribing to only one God and their own God?
Actually, what you may call Hinduism, or most ancient, earliest Indian tradition, Sangha philosophy, over 3,000 years. So then Jainism, Buddhism eventually developed on the basis of ancient Indian thought. So over the Sangha philosophy, the main sort of, as I mentioned earlier, tolerance, patience, and these things, and then wisdom to analyze. So the Buddhist sort of terminology, the practice of Shila, practice of Shamatha, practice of Vipassana, these are from Sankhya philosophy. Then Jainism also, you see, based on these three practices. And Buddhism also, three practices. So Hinduism is the foundation of all Indian religion. So there are similarities, except concept of Atma and Anatma. Buddhism, Anatma. All religion believe Atma. Atma means separate soul from this body and mind. The Buddhism knows such independent, separate sort of soul. The soul or self is designated on the combination of body and mind, like that. So basically, the Buddhism, you see, come from Hinduism, like that. So Hinduism is ancient, Indian tradition that eventually, you see, develop many branches, okay, like that. So Hinduism, Buddhism is something very unique, like twin brothers, sisters, like that, okay.
His Holiness, when practicing compassion, how do you know when you're acting with love?
Love, the compassion, there are two levels. One, compassion, I think usually very much mixed with attachment. Now, genuine compassion without attachment. So test sense of concern, of well-being, your enemy. That's a real compassion, no attachment. This is sense of concern, your friend, close friend, some sense of sort of well-being of them is very much mixed with attachment. So therefore, even sort of test or sort of compassion, or you should look your enemy, troublemaker, then you feel genuine sense of concern, closeness feeling. Then that is genuine compassion. Okay.
Your Holiness, my question is directly in your life experiences. You mentioned Sankhya philosophy. What other aspects of ancient Hindu traditions and philosophy, especially from the Upanishads, did you read them? Did you study them? Did you meditate upon them to actually get how critical inquiry or jnana plays in the traditions of Tibetan Buddhism? And how would you recommend that we would apply those ancient Indian traditions to the modern scientific world, which we are all pursuing? I know you made the comments of the two, but give us some practical words of how to do it.
Okay. Basically, the Sankhya philosophy and the ancient, earliest Indian tradition is to carry the message of compassion and ahimsa, non-violence, and compassion. Ahimsa, karuna. So then all these different Indian tradition, all branch of that. So some different philosophical views, even within Buddhism, there are different school of thought. And particularly in the Nalanda tradition, Vibhashik, Saudantik, Chitta Mantra, and Madhyamika. And within these four major school of thought is the subdivisions. So human mental sort of also the dispositions. So there are differences. So different philosophy. And Buddha himself, taught different philosophy. But all, ultimate source is India's ahimsa and karuna. Okay.
Oh.
Yes? I think first, female.
Thank you, Your Holiness. I'm sorry, I don't know how to properly hold my scarf and ask the question. You've been asked many questions throughout your life. We were wondering, what is one question you haven't been asked but would like to answer or speak to? Thank you.
No, I don't know. I think the Nalanda tradition, Sanskrit tradition, there are a lot of questions raised. For example, myself, I think 7, 8 years old, already started the Nalanda tradition. So the way we study, firstly, memorize all the root text, wrote by Indian masters, and then commentary, mainly wrote by Indian masters, and then, of course, Tibetan commentary, also is very useful. So then we very much sort of use debate. So when we carry debate, always use the contradiction, try to. When we carry debate, we are expecting some contradiction from the
opponent. Contradictory positions from the opponents.
From the opponent. When we find some contradiction and we feel very happy, then you have sort of debate more serious, and the opponents. You see, or there are some cases. You see the top scholar and very honest. So answer everything as a right answer. Then you see the debater. Usually you see very sort of fond debate, but in that case, he sort of not much debate. So later, some of his sort of disciple, ask that person, "Why today you are not much debate? Why?" Then his answer is,
because the person who was actually giving the answers was giving answers with full reason. I mean, there was nothing that he could actually pick and contradict his position.
So therefore, the practice debate, that's very, very helpful and sharpening our mind. So that's a Nalanda tradition. Then I think once 8th century, the one Nalanda master reached Tibet, he introduced the logical approach. So then some Tibetan master also wrote some certain text. So with Tibet, our Tibetan Buddhist tradition, particularly in those big monastic institutions, we extensively use debate. So that's very helpful, sharpening our mind, and also memory. And sharpening mind, very helpful to Gyön Chuyati.
It's very helpful to pick on others' we call faults.
Your Holiness, you mentioned that destructive emotion is basically sourced or based on appearance.
Oh, yes.
And constructive emotions are based on reality. What is reality?
As I mentioned earlier, there is big gap, appearance and reality, even according to quantum physics. Appearance is that the things exist objectively. That if you think deeper way, nothing exists as appears. Nothing exists objectively. So that's now some student of quantum physics, you see, some student, mainly in one big university, in Lenzhou University in China. Now, some student, they wrote some article. They mentioned the quantum physicist. You see, things does not exist as appears. You see, that very useful, or that makes, that affects, you see, some kind of grasping.
So when you're able to feel convinced that things don't exist the way they appear to us, then it actually helps to reduce your clinging or grasping at some solidity in things.
So some quantum physics student, now they already sort of found that way. So that's exactly the Buddhist philosophy, Nalanda tradition, their psychology. You see, they mentioned all destructive emotion, you see, based on
so these destructive emotions are based on some kind of inappropriate attention to things.
So that's according to quantum physics is similar. You see, all destructive emotion based on appearances. So appearances think more deeper way, nothing exists as appears. So that's exactly Nagarjuna philosopher, you see, mentioned that. And also, according to my own experience, that very, very helpful to reduce destructive emotion, such as anger, like that. Okay, next question.
In today's world, there is like a lot of anger and lot of anxiety, and lot of material things are happening. People are more materialistic. In Buddhism, we teach compassion, kindness. How do you bring this together? Like when your surrounding is like all materialistic, anger and everything, how do you bring compassion, kindness and other things which Buddhism emphasizes?
As we already discussed, secular way. So, world need more compassion here. Not thinking next life or not thinking religion, but simply our day-to-day life and world at large. A lot of problem due to jealousy, anger, suspicion, these things. So we have to, in order, now world peace, everybody say world peace, world peace. World peace through inner peace. World peace with weapon, impossible to world peace. So we have to deal with mental level without touching religion.
Yeah. Your Holiness, can you please help me understand a certain aspect of Buddhism? My understanding is that in Buddhism, as you already said, there is no soul that survives the destruction of the body. But Buddhism also says that there is karma. Now, if there is nothing that survives the destruction of the body, how is it that something can carry forward from this body to, let's say, the next one? What is the thing that provides continuity? Because in my understanding in Hinduism, which also believes in karma, the Jivatma is wrapped in the karma of the current birth, and then it carries forward with the karma into the next birth, and then the karma disappears. And
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's my question.
According to non-Buddhist, the separate soul. So that soul, no beginning, no end. So life after life. So, also the karmic link on the basis of also the Atma. So similarly, Buddhism do not accept a separate sort of soul, but because of the sentient being, because of that means or self is there as just designation on the combination of body and mind. Then body and mind both grosser level and more subtle level and very, very most subtle level. So for example, body, this grosser level, and dream time, sometimes some special dream, you see, you can separate from this body. So that is more subtler body. And most subtle sort of level is after death. You see, mind and very subtle level body. So mind also is in grosser level with sensorial sort of mind. That's in grosser level. Then dream time, or more subtle level. Then faint, more deeper mind. So deepest at the time of death, dying. So that mind, no beginning, no end, so goes life after life. So that's the basis of karma. A previous life creates some action that impact on that subtle mind, so that carry life after life. Okay.
Your Holiness, may I know your views on what happens to a soul which has been, or a person who has been good and has done good things in his life? Does he attain oneness with the Creator? And do you meet up with your loved ones after death as an Atma?
So now this is related with concept of Creator or theistic religion, and non-theistic, no Creator, but rather self-creation. So Creator, just this one life. This life, this very life created by God. The non-theistic religion, life after life, go like that. So it's a different explanation due to different sort of philosophical view, whether there is belief Creator or not. So Buddhism, Jainism, and one part of Sankhyasm, no Creator. So this soul, life after life, go like that. Then they sort of identify the soul, self. There are differences. Okay.
Your Holiness, as an extension to this, in Tibetan Buddhism, what is the concept of enlightenment and self-realization? And the understanding that is given that desirelessness is the way to that self-realization. What is your perspective on desires? How do we deal with desires towards the end objective?
Desire, there are two kinds. One desire is I want to be a good human being. That's good desire. I want to be among the student, I want to be top class. Good. So desire, there are realistic desire, unrealistic desire, and desire is in order to you gain something and create problem to other. That's a negative desire. So there are variety. When we talk about mind, emotion, there are so many variety. So it is in order to develop ahimsa, I feel it is very important to know the map of emotion and mind. So we already, with cooperation with government college here, we already sort of some program in education, the teaching about the ancient Indian knowledge about emotion, the variety of mind, variety of emotion as an academic subject. It's very important. Okay. Thank you.